you all for being here today. UC tried to promise away with the clowns and the rain, but they were not successful.
Turn on the speaker to the right! Turn on the speaker! Turn on the speaker! We can hear you!
You all ready to hear the voice of the workers here today?
No, their speaker system has no speakers. Something's wrong.
Say 7.
I don't think people can hear what's being said.
Oh, I wonder who tested it.
Can you guys watching hear what they're saying? Because there's some speaker issues.
I see
No, they do. Jeremy's working on the speaker right now.
All right, so they're trying to fix the speaker, so we're aware of nobody can hear anything.
Your signs are blocking our view!
I make in multiple years. So I'm one of the UPT organizers. I was like Joe, average union member up until a couple of years ago. And we started to have the fog cleared away about all this BS that is going on at this institution. And the more that we started to see about the inequity that is here, about what UC is doing is compromising the amazing services that we provide for students, for patients, for the people of California, with our research, our educators, our professionals in the hospital. We said, no, we're not going to stand for that. I'm having workers that are having to work 2 jobs, coming in stressed out themselves, who are trying to help kids that are dealing with stress. We're working 2 jobs. We have multiple cars in the employee parking lot with Uber and Lyft stickers. People are running from one shift to cover a second job or even a third job just to make ends meet. We can barely afford to live within a reasonable commute of the community that we serve. I would have to earn 3 times more than I'm making right now to be able to afford a rent that's like 30% of my income here. It's like, what is up with that? What we are asking for is fair compensation for our labor. Nothing more, nothing less. This is our 3rd strike this year. In 12 months, we've been out 3 times. We have gotten stronger every time. Of engaging in theatrics. They refer to this as theatrics, what we're doing today. Seriously? This is not theatrics. This is saying, that's it, we're not going to take this. We are prepared to come back as many times as it will take to make sure that they are not going to compromise the service. The union is getting stronger. We are going to make this university strong as well with the help of everybody that's here. That's UPD, that's HX, that's RX, that's TX, that's AFSCME, who are amazing to support us. The students who are supporting us. We're going to let them know that we are going to keep this fight going as long as it takes. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Ursula. The next speaker is someone I've had the good fortune to work with for the last several years. She's a case manager at UC Davis at the medical center there, and she's also the statewide president of UPD CWA 9119. I'm talking about our sister, Jamie McDowell.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the sunshine. Helps us all dry out from earlier. So we are out here fighting not only for ourselves, but honestly for the rest of the country. There are so many labor struggles going on right now. And we all have to work together. We all have to stand together. What are we fighting for? Are we fighting to make billions like the people who run the university? No! We want a living wage.
Agree.
We want to be able to come to work, live in have a decent living, and live within a reasonable distance. How many people travel 2 hours to come here to UC? That's not sustainable. We are here, we come to work, we love our jobs. We are here to support our students, we're here to support our research, we're here to support our patients. We do so much for this state, and honestly for the world. Do you know how many inventions, how many things that have come out of UC? How many things we've added to the periodic table? That's the University of California. That's the power of our people, of us and our labor. The university has been very clear that they don't want us here for a career. They want to casualize and make it so that we come and go. Is that good for the research we're doing? Is that good for the patients we're serving? No. Is that good for the students that we work with? No. 80% of our research and technical employees leave within 5 years. 80%.
That ain't right.
Because of the way the university treats us, because of the wages, because of the cuts, because they understaff and overwork all of us. And that's got to stop. 45% of our new hires this year alone are unbenefited and casual. UC is trying to make us the Walmart of higher education. And to add insult to injury, who's aware that they're trying to take away our protections for sexual violence and sexual harassment in Target? They don't want you to have the right for the union to help you. They want to take that right away. That's egregious to me. So we come out in numbers. We come out to tell the university that their treatment, they need to stop. We're growing stronger, we're getting bigger, and they damn well better be afraid of what we're going to poop for the next strike if we have to have it. Who runs this university?
Next up is another worker from right here at UCLA. He's also a fellow member of the technical unit. He's a camera technician, and he's a great leader. He's someone who has engaged his co-workers in this fight, and brought them into the struggle with us all. This is Albert Alvarez.
everyone. Let's do this first. Everybody say, burn it. So my name is Albert, and I work here at the university. And I've been working here on the campus as a camera technician at the film school for 11.5 years. I love working here. I help students every day, and I'm concerned that the university's practices are hurting our students. We do not have enough full-time workers to serve our students. We are forced to hire part-time contract labor, and there's no path to full-time status, so we continually lose workers who we've already trained in a complex technical field. We're tired of it. We see how many senior administrators keep getting hired. I think our school now has 13 assistant deans. And while I work with students every day, I know that they don't. So they don't have any way of knowing what our students' concerns and problems are. We are here today to remind everyone that the University of California is dedicated to serving the people of California, not the senior executives, regents, and UCLA. The flat-out lies that UC senior executives will not deceive us because we know the truth. In 2017, just as we began to negotiate this contract, the state auditor, Elaine Howell, presented a report to the entire legislature in which she told them that UCOP had used misleading budgeting practices, failed to justify its spending, provided their own employees with excessive salaries and benefits, and stashed away $175 million. Okay. So let's take a look at that last thing. Ordinarily, an organization that manages to save $175 million, that might be good. But this is how State Auditor Elaine Howell ends her statement. We found it particularly troublesome that UCOP intentionally interfered in our efforts to assess the types and quality of services it provides to students. Correspondence between UCOP and the campuses notes that UCOP inappropriately reviewed the surveys, which resulted in campuses making changes prior to submitting them to the state. Campus statements that were critical of UCOP had been removed or substantially revised, and negative ratings had been changed to be more positive. Taken as a whole, these problems indicate that significant change is necessary to strengthen the public's trust in the university. It seems to me like they're trying to hide something. They somehow saved $175 million. What were they planning to do with it? Give us raises? Well, in that same report, we get a clue of what they were planning to do with it. From 2013 to 2016, UCOP's internal administrative spending increased 28% by $80 million. So, 28% over 3 years. They stashed $175 million, which they kept quiet about, and at the same time, they gave themselves $80 million in raises. Or maybe not all $80 million in raises themselves. Maybe they hired some of their friends too. We don't know, because they used misleading budget practices. That's one of the things that they did, and it's one of the things that the state auditor found. And then they got audited. And then they got caught. And all this happens at the same time that we were first sitting down with them to negotiate. So how does that go, the negotiations? Do you suppose they might have some sense of shame? They have no shame. They are going to continue to chip away at the underpinnings of this institution. And we are going to continue to fight because we care about our students. We care about our workers. And we care about our patients. We are all living in a time when wealth, power, and privilege are on notice. And we are serving that notice. This is a public university. Whose university? Our university. Whose university? Our university. Whose university? Our university.
Next, I have the pleasure of introducing to you two of our brilliant allies from the student community here, Chelsea Joppa and Karen Glenn.
My name is Chelsea, and I'm a student at UCLA. Thank you. When I think of the people in these unions, I remember talking about movies and splitting eating cookies with Jenna and Zia. Or when Rob, the two-time divorcee, gives me dating advice. These are my coworkers and the people who work hard for students every day. They're funny, talented, and incredibly strong. I'm on this picket line today because the university is denying workers their dignity and humanity, like they're doing to us students too. We know that when workers commute for hours because they can't afford to live here, even while working more than one job. It's like when students struggle to find housing in the third most expensive zip code for renters in the country. We know that when research and technical employees are squeezed so thin that 80% leave in 5 years. It's like when student workers quit their jobs every few quarters because working just above minimum wage is fucking exhausting. We know that when UCLA pays black women thousands of dollars less than their white male counterparts, it's like when the university denies black students a resource center and an endowment and spiking What we know is that this is all wrong. We all came to UCLA for opportunity and growth, but instead of growth, UCLA has given us disappointment. It's clear that this public institution does not serve the people. Despite this, we have formed communities of people who struggle together, the people who keep us going and fight with us. And now we realize that this community involves students and workers. And we will struggle together, and we will fight together.
Oh my God, look at all these beautiful faces. Let me hear you!
Good afternoon, my name is Cam Gwen. I'm a third-year gender studies major and major workplace minor here at UCLA. Y'all want to hear some tea? I just walked out of my labor studies final. I spent 3 hours writing an essay using academic papers in my professor's lecture to argue why social movements are important. But I'm sitting in there writing and looking at all this knowledge that I accumulated in an institutionalized classroom. I'm like, there's nothing I can't learn, like when I'm right here in front of all of you. I would not be able to sit in that classroom without UPSI workers, without the ASCII workers. This institution would not be here without us. I'm organized because I'm a first-generation Filipino student, and all my families are overseas Filipino workers who are janitors, nurses, custodians, upholding all these institutions around the country. And when I look into the eyes of these workers, I remember my family coming home with tired eyes and tired shoulders, and no matter what, they look at me with the face of love. And then when I look at all of you, I see my family. We are family, and we are fighting here together today. And just like a tree that's planted by the water, we shall not be moved! We are fighting for a university that does not exploit student workers at below minimum rates in order to displace career workers at the UC! And we demand a UC that serves students, patients, and the public, not executives and the rich. Thank you!
Next up, we have the honor of introducing to you today a professor of social movements, of labor, and the future of work, right here at UCLA, Ramesh Srinivasan.
What's up, you all? Thank you for being here. I want you to know that that you all are an inspiration to me. As a professor here at UCLA, it's you who I can learn from. You all are teaching us right here and right now. So thank you. It is a true honor to join you today for this historic strike of 40,000 University of California workers called by UPTE and CWA. Please, UPTE, CWA, thank you for organizing this strike. I've been a faculty member here at UCLA since 2005, and I want to say that this university runs because of its workers, not just its professors, not just a cash cow that it's accumulating more and more and more through its grants and through all the tuition funds that it charges. It runs because of all of you. I want you to know that, and I feel like I'm here with you. And what's going on here? Well, we're in our world right now with about 7.7 billion people. 7 people have equivalent wealth to 4 billion people. So the bottom half of our world has the same amount of money as the top 7 people. What does that mean? Well, let's look at the United States. The top 3 wealthiest people in our country have the same wealth as the bottom 50% of our population. Hundreds of millions of people in 3 people's pockets? Is that fair? So what's going on here? This is private corporate logic that's infusing itself into every system that we know of. It's taking over digital technology, which I speak of and write about, but it's also taking over the very nature of work itself. And what is happening while that's happening is it is violating the social contract that we all counted on when we signed up for work. And what is that social contract? Fair wages, living wages, and more, right? Secure benefits, pensions, health care. These issues are what matters as human beings. We can't have a great system. And what are unions about? They're about coming together in the spirit of solidarity, the spirit of organizing, where everyone gets a fair chance. We don't want to give in to that false mentality of scarcity, as Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez just recently said. We don't want to do that. So let me bring it home right now. First of all, without its workers, there is no UC. 1. 2. We have to ensure that the UC leadership does not put the priorities of its executives over the interests of students, workers, patients, and the public. We have to ensure that the UC works with our unions, not give contract jobs. That's a bait and switch. The contract job is a way of cutting people out of the deal, paying people pennies on the dollar, and cutting them out of benefits and supporting and making our society even more unequal and anti-democratic. Will not be Amazon, will not be Walmart. That's why we're striking right here and right now. Public institution, not a private corporation. It's time it behaves that way. So I support all of you. I'm here with all of you in solidarity, and I want you to know that Ask Me, and the privatization of the UC system is not going to happen on my watch, and it's not going to happen on any of our watches. Let me end by telling you that someone incredible who I've admired, who feels more like a political activist, who feels more like an organizer than the standard politician who feeds us platitudes and lines, is coming on stage in a little bit. And I watched the interview with that man, Senator Bernie Sanders. President Bernie Sanders. You won't believe it. He was saying the same shit that he's saying right now. 40 years ago. Thank you very much. This is our revolution. We're going to take it right here and right now. Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Monica Martinez of AFSCME 3299.
here at the hospital. And all I want to say is that I'm very happy to see all of us united, making sure we all get a fair contract and to stop outsourcing and contracting out and protect our jobs. It's a very clear message saying we are not going to stop. We are not going to wait for you to value us because we value each other. And we're not going to wait until we do get a contract and we protect our jobs. Because we're not going to let it happen. When you fight, we win! Thank you. I'm going to introduce now a woman that I have known for almost 18 years as well, and that has been through thick and thin and is always fighting along with us and for you and for everyone. Our president of Athens Local 329, Catherine!
Good afternoon! We can talk about inequality all night long. We can talk about it till the cows come home. But here's what inequality is. Inequality is a custodian up against a chancellor. It's a CNA versus a CEO. It is someone making $50,000 a year while the guy that runs the hospital makes north of $1 million for doing nothing. That's inequality. So let's then talk about power, because that's also power is the custodian who makes $50K a year, making that CEO give her what she deserves. That CEO trades on the cynical hope that that custodian will stop fighting her or him because she can't afford to on the wages that he pays her. It's the cynical hope that the patient care worker will stop fighting him because she cares too much for her patients. Well, that's bullshit. We'll never stop fighting because we cannot afford otherwise. So let's talk about what winning looks like. Because just like a leech that crawls up from the slime at the bottom of a murky pond, the soft-bellied greed of the millionaires running a university cannot withstand the unstoppable force of everybody gathered here today across the state, because we will not afford otherwise. We will never stop until we win. We're the ones who make UC run, so we know what it's like to work hard to make something great. That is why the longer this takes, the sweeter the victory will be. Onward! When we fight! We win! We fight! We win! We win! We fight! We win! We're gonna win!
Thank you so much, sister. We have another great union leader, one who's really been a part of a fight that captured the imagination of the country and really left an indelible mark on this city. I'm talking about the UCLA struggle that was victorious. From UCLA, Vice President Cecily Meyer-Cruz.
Are we here tonight? Good afternoon. My name is Cecily Meyer-Cruz, but I am a worker just like you. I stand today with UPTE, CWA, AFSCME, UCLA students, and all allies. We stand with you. We stand with you because you stood with us. Earlier today, it was raining. A little rain doesn't stop y'all, does it? We were out there for and we did it. Just like you are gonna do it. We are sick and tired of privatizing and billionaires. Opportunity for better funding for our students. So workers across this country are saying enough is enough. We have to demand right now that enough is enough. You all of these workers here that are represented today, that is our fight. Your fight is our fight. We are going to be with you. We are going to shut it down. We are going to stand with you to demand a livable wage, to demand all of the things that you need. So I'm going to bring up the person you've been waiting for. When we fight, we win. We fight, we win. We fight, we win. Senator Bernie Sanders.
Thank you very much. Let me thank Upti and AFSCME for inviting me to be here with you this afternoon. And I'm here today, I should tell you, not as a candidate for president, but as somebody who has spent the last 40 years of his life walking on picket lines with unionized workers. And I'm proud to be here with you today because I believe from the bottom of my heart that if we're going to create an economy that works for all of us and not just the 1%, we're going to have to grow the union work movement, and workers are going to have to stand up and fight back. Thank you very much. You know, I wish that I could tell you this afternoon that what's going on at the University of California is kind of unique, that this is the only institution in America where an employer is not sitting down and negotiating in good faith with his union. I wish I could tell you that the University of California is the only employer in America not paying its workers a living wage. I wish I could tell you that here at the university it is unique that the entity is trying to privatize and outsource jobs. But if I told you that, it simply would not be true, because what we are seeing all across this country is a war being waged against the working people of America. And the time is long overdue for the American people to stand up, to say enough is enough. That if you work 40 hours a week, you're entitled to decent wages, entitled to decent benefits, and entitled to be treated with respect and dignity. Here is why we have to stand up and fight back, because the truth is that for the last 40 years, there has been a massive transfer of wealth in this country, and it has gone in the wrong direction. Today, millions of workers in America, in the richest country in the history of the world, are forced to work 2 or 3 jobs just to pay the bills. Today in America, millions of people cannot afford the health care they need, the child care they need. They cannot afford to pay their rents because of the outrageous price of housing in California and all over this country. It is a sad state of affairs. It is a sad state of affairs when people in this community who work at this university cannot live in this community because they cannot afford to buy housing or pay the rent. While the middle class shrinks, while 40 million Americans live in poverty, we have massive levels of income and wealth inequality, which is immoral and economically unsustainable. We have an absurd situation where 3 families in America own more wealth than the bottom half of this country. Where CEOs make 300 times what their workers are making. Where the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 90%. Where half of the workers in this country are living paycheck to paycheck and are scared to death that if their car breaks down and they can't get to work, they're going to get fired and not be able to provide for their kids. Scared to death that their kid might become sick and they can't afford to pay the doctor's bill. Now, the University of California is one of the great university systems in the world. But it is not good enough to be a great university. It is not good enough to be teaching our kids in a wonderful way. It's not good enough to be having a great hospital and a great medical center. The University of California must not be a corporate-type employer. The University of California must be a model employer. It must be an employer that respects its workers.
Yes.
It must be an employer that treats its workers with dignity. And it must sit down with its unions and negotiate in good faith. I want to thank you for standing up and fighting back, because the struggle that you are fighting here is a struggle that exists in every state in this country.
Yep.
The working families of our nation are sick and tired of working longer hours for lower wages, while the people on top get 46% of all new income. The working families of this country are demanding an economy that works for all of us, and that can begin right here on this campus. I want to say also that I am proud to be here with 2 great unions. if we are going to rebuild the American middle class, we need to grow the trade union movement. And the good news is that all across this country, we're seeing workers beginning to fight back. We're seeing teachers in so-called red states standing up and fighting for a decent education for their kids. And if I have anything to say about it, and I expect that I will, we are going to make it easier for workers to join unions, not harder. We are going to make it easier for workers to get first contracts and demand that employers sit down and negotiate honestly and in good faith. So my message today is that the struggle you are waging here is part of a struggle taking place in every state of this country. We are the wealthiest nation in the history of the world. We should not have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth. We are the wealthiest nation on earth. We should not be the only major country not to guarantee health care to all people of the world. We are the wealthiest nation on earth, and the day is going to come when great public universities like the University of California or the University of Vermont will become tuition free. And by the way, at a time when major corporations like Amazon are not paying a nickel in taxes, that is going to change as well. And we are going to demand that the 1% and large profitable private corporations start paying their fair share of taxes. Brothers and sisters, what you are doing is enormously important. You are showing the rest of the country about the importance of standing up and fighting back. You are showing the rest of the country what economic justice demands. And I conclude by urging this university, this great university, in the strongest possible terms, sit down and negotiate with your unions in good faith. Thank you.
I love that man.
Give it up for Bernie Sanders! the future generations of workers. And we're striking because we shouldn't have to choose between our living wage and a meaningful work. I also had a little bit enough about Indian families. They have a human before me, so I'm going to give you guys a little something about why we Filipino workers do and the fight that we have. Mr. Sanders is involved in economic substitution in the He's focused on I heard his little Brooklyn accent. The government is turning back on veterans. He's there to help workers unionize. I'm going to go to the shade. I am burning. And he's serving union movements across the country. Bernie has long legislated and advocated for unions and workers' rights because he understands the inequality workers experience. And Bernie will change this nation forever. He put out the call that we will once and for all